Hello people, welcome back to the channel. I am reacting to a Veritasium video today. I believe Brady and Veritasium do a podcast together and do other things together, I believe. I don't listen to that one, but I do know, I think they do things together. Brady from Hello Internet, if you're wondering. I'm a Tim. But yeah, let's jump into it. Go sub to Veritasium, go like his videos, everything else like that. Don't bother with me, I'm not the important one. Go do everything with them. I'm the secondary option. I'm the secondary option. Now, let's jump into it. This video is, does Planet 9 exist? I don't know what Planet 9 is, but I like learning, so let's go learn.
No option to make a device secure against bad guys, but insecure against good guys. All of us are secure.
That's Eric Snowden, right? This is an ad, but I like giving people ad revenue. So I'm not gonna skip it. I'm gonna let the ad run. So we're just gonna let the ad run in the very beginning, and then, yeah,
Secure.
Let them have their money. You know what I mean?
Or none of us are.
Hi, I'm Derek Muller, creator of the YouTube science channel Veritasium. Now, the internet has transformed our lives. We use it constantly.
It's your own ad on top of your own video. That's kind of Inception-y, isn't it? It's a bit weird. All right, fuck it. Let's go.
We depend on it, but how many of us
Sorry
really
for swear word there,
understand
by the way.
it? Join me for the groundbreaking Curiosity Stream series, Digits, where we'll unravel how the information age was born, explore the many mind-blowing technologies it spawned, and reveal the stunning impacts they're likely to have on us all.
Now it's Miria. It's now Miria. Teddy is gone. He has replaced by Mia. He is replaced by Mia. The only important one. Hello.
So basically, Honey is a free browser extension that you can use to shop online. Honey knows about every discount code, coupon, and
Why
sale
is Honey
that's going on.
seemingly
Okay,
everywhere?
so I bought something from Forever
Honey
21 to
seems to
see
be
if it
incredibly-
actually worked, and it did, and I ended up saving.
Honey seems to be incredibly popular. And seemingly with these streamers, I suppose. I always dislike odd ads, so awful.
$55.
I was really surprised but excited that it worked because now I can save money while I'm actually shopping online, which is really cool. And I really like this because it works for everybody. Anybody that buys something online will find a coupon code, a discount, a sale. And there's actually already over 10 million.
I'm going to go ahead and assume she's a streamer of some variety. I unfortunately don't know many people in entertainment. Even though I'm a streamer myself, a very small time. I don't know many people in I don't even know people in mainstream entertainment. So, I'm assuming she's a someone.
Website to save money. So honestly, I think it's a really good deal. Like, who wouldn't want to save money for free?
So,
I'll be honest, her voice is kind of annoying, but that's just me. Anyway, let's get into the video.
You think Planet 9 exists with 99.8% probability?
Something like that. Yeah, maybe 99. I'll push it higher. 99.9% probability.
99.9 probability. I don't know what Planet 9 is. I've heard of it before, but I don't know what Planet 9 is. So let's jump into this and see, find out ourselves.
It's just wishful thinking. It is. I mean, if you're that sure, find it.
In the farthest reaches of our solar system, way past Neptune and Pluto, a ninth planet may be lurking. It's predicted to have a mass 5 times that of Earth, and to orbit once every 10,000 years on a highly elliptical, inclined orbit. So why do some scientists suspect that such a strange object exists? That's what I've come to Caltech to find out.
I mean, if it orbits every 10,000 years, it's technically a planet, but it's not really part of our solar system. It just happens to orbit in the same area. Right? I guess that would be considered part of our solar system, but it almost wouldn't for most of human pretty much all of like recorded human history. It just wasn't a thing. Huh. Interesting.
To do your work.
Is that like the same idea of the rogue planet? What was that rogue planet called back in, it was in the 90s, right? 90s, early 2000s. I can't remember what it was called, but there was that fear that there was that rogue planet that was going to come out and hit Earth or something. Oh, doomsday thing, but it was something about a planet. I don't remember what that was.
You know, I usually do it wherever. Wherever I have a couple minutes of free time, I just do it. So this is where a lot of it gets done. My name is Konstantin Vatigan. I am a professor of planetary science at Caltech.
So much smarter than I am, basically. Professor at Caltech. That is impressive.
And I do all kinds of astrophysics-y planetary studies, including stuff about Planet 9. These are very...
See, I always had an interest in space, and I always had an interest in astronomy. I almost said astrology. Astronomy. But I hate mathematics. My brain just can't function with mathematics. My brain shuts down with math. I don't know what it is. It just... I have a hard time learning math. And I've tried many times. I've tried many, many, many times to attempt to learn math. To attempt to, like, become good at math. And I know there's a saying, like, everyone can become good at math. I think some people are better at it than others. My brain just can't do it. As much as I would love to become better at math, it is something that is unfortunately beyond me. I'm quite good at English, and I'm quite good at history and other things and talking, obviously. Math is not one of them. Math is not a skill I possess. And unfortunately, math is one of the best skills you can have. Math is one of the most profitable and, like, most valuable skills you can have. Or at least one of them. At least with, like, interesting degrees and things like that.
Variable transformations. I'll tell you where the Planet 9 boundary lies. It's like that. So everything to the left of that is all Planet 9.
So I'm here to find out about hidden planets and how to find hidden planets with math.
Okay.
So how do we do that? I mean, do you want to start at the beginning of this sort of endeavor, or do you want to jump into Planet 9? Where do you want to start?
Red Hot Chili Pepper shirt. Woo!
Well, let's start at the beginning, because the beginning has a long and beautiful history to it. In its origins dates back to 1781, I believe, when Uranus was first discovered by
Uranus.
Herschel.
Uranus.
And when Herschel discovered Uranus, he immediately realized that the star that was slowly moving across the sky had actually been imaged many, many times before. And it was a matter of going back to old observations and kind of retracing the orbit that Uranus was following on the sky. And
you know, I realize I touch my face a lot during these videos without even meaning to. I'm very expressive with my hands, and I apparently touch my face a lot. That's something I've noticed rewatching these. It's funny, I've streamed for 1.5 years, and I've never picked up on those weird... I guess it's because I'm not doing anything with my hands. My hands are just, like, free-roaming now, that my hands just kind of go everywhere, but that's something I've noticed.
Astronomers and mathematicians of the time immediately noticed that there was a problem with the orbit of this newly discovered planet. It was deviating from where it was supposed to be. But a French mathematician by the name of Urbain Le Verrier eventually did this beautiful and very complicated set of calculations that said, okay, if there is a planet there, right, in that part of the sky, then we can explain the anomalous motion of Uranus. And when once there was a mathematical prediction of where to look, astronomers...
Anomalous motion of Uranus. Oh, I'm a big child.
Were then able to discover Neptune with basically pinpoint accuracy.
How quickly did they find Neptune?
So this is a remarkable story. They found Neptune in one night because they knew exactly where to look.
There could be a ninth planet. There's a lot of space for a ninth planet in the outer solar system, but there's no good evidence for a ninth planet at the present time. And a particularly scary thing about the ninth planet is that a lot of people want to believe that there's a ninth planet. And we all know there's this huge psychological bias to the effect that if you want to believe something is true, you will find evidence, real or not, that it's true.
Everyone and their brother in the last 170 years have predicted planets beyond Neptune. But all of these theories have failed to date. I think that we, meaning myself and my collaborator / partner in crime, Mike Brown, are right. Our understanding of the solar system has evolved dramatically in the last 20 years.
I'll be honest, I had no position on the ninth planet. Like most things with science, I have this tendency to agree with what the majority of scientists are saying, and then adapt accordingly as new information comes out. So, I suppose I'm on the side of, I have no idea, but it doesn't really exist, because the majority of scientists says it probably doesn't. But if new information comes out, then okay, you know what I mean. That's my position when it comes to science and this type of thing. I'm willing to go along with what the majority says. I do like outliers, because in science and everything, you always need outliers to be willing to challenge status quo. You can never allow a status quo to stand. Status quos always have to be challenged. And I like it when they get challenged, and I believe they should be allowed to challenge the status quo, so long as it's not killing people or things like that. So long as, like, the status quo, like, as long as you're not being psychotic with your status quo. Or if you're proven completely wrong. You know what I mean? Like, it's fine to challenge the status quo, and then once you get proven wrong, at least a couple times, peer review and the proven wrong, peer review, proven wrong, then you give up on it and try something else, right? Like, you're allowed to be wrong. I'm saying that because anti-vaxxers make me want to tear my hair out. Anyway, not going to get into that, but yeah. With this, I tend to go with the majority here, but I am appreciative of people who do scientifically challenge the status quo.
Discovered that there exists this one additional belt of icy debris called the Kuiper Belt. Right? These are kind of big icy asteroids that are maybe the size of LA, floating around beyond Neptune.
That's really spooky to think about. That there's giant, like, floating rocks or ice or whatever that are like the size of cities just floating in space, and one could just kind of hit us because its orbit got kind of shifted. That's really spooky to think about. Like, that's incredibly spooky to think about. That's something that could just happen to us. I don't really like that. But what can you do, right? It's space.
Who's responsible for finding the Kuiper Belt?
I found the Kuiper Belt with my
Oh, you found the Kuiper Belt. Ooh, congratulations.
my student Jane Liu. You know that. We were looking for anything, actually,
That's impressive, actually.
beyond the orbit of Saturn. So the puzzle in 1985, the puzzle was, why is it that the inner part of the solar system is full of asteroids and comets and all sorts kinds of things, planets, all this stuff, but then when you go beyond Saturn, there's Uranus, there's Neptune, and there's Pluto, and then that's it. Why would the outer solar system be so empty? It's a very simple question of the kind that I can understand. And the answer was, well, let's have a look. You know, maybe it's not really empty.
Yeah. If something doesn't make sense to you like that, it's like, might as well look. If it's empty, it's empty. Then we have to then we have to figure out the reason why. But if it's not empty, then maybe, yeah. Always challenge the conventional status quo. Never leave rocks unturned. It's never a good thing. It's never a good thing to leave rocks unturned. Unless, of course, like, that's, like, crazy genocidal, kill everyone type of rocks, then maybe leave those ones unturned. But, you know, for most things, don't leave rocks unturned.
Maybe it is, in which case that would be interesting, but maybe it's...
Unless, of course, that rock has already been turned over multiple. Again, that goes back to the anti-vaxxers, but...
not. So we started a survey to find stuff beyond Saturn. And we did the survey for a long time, 5 years or something, 6 years, and found actually nothing for that whole time, including nothing just beyond Saturn where we expected to find stuff, until finally in 1992 we got this thing way out, and we could tell immediately it's way out, 45 AU, 50 AU, from the slow motion across the sky. We found this thing out there, what we call now the first identified Kuiper Belt object. It's actually the second, because Pluto was misidentified back in 1930 for all sorts of reasons connected with sociology and propaganda and things like that. People wanted to find a planet, and so no matter what, Pluto must be a planet.
Pluto must be a planet. So that's why Pluto became a planet, because we were searching for planets, searching for planets, and then a small object. Pluto's a planet in my heart. Pluto is our planet. They can't take that away from us. That is something I disagree with. Like, I know it isn't a planet, but it's come on, it's a planet. Give it to us.
So that process has continued. We have more than 2,000 of these objects now. So in 25 years, 2,000 of these things have been found. We think the population is vast. There's a billion things bigger than a kilometer across, maybe more, maybe a couple billion. It's some of the more distant objects that appear to some people to show this orbital alignment. And they have, in particular, a very large perihelion distance, so they never come close to the Sun, they never come close to even Neptune.
If you look at the most distant objects in this belt of debris called the Kuiper Belt, all of their orbits kind of point into the same direction.
Is it possible that there are some going in the other direction, we just haven't found them? They're there.
Yeah, of course, that's a great question. Generically, when you search for objects in the night sky, they're always what are called observational biases. So you're always limited to finding objects only where you look. So this is a key question that you have to ask, right? Is it that we only found objects that are all pointing that way, right? Their orbits pointing that way because we only looked there. The answer is that there is a chance that this is all a false alarm, okay? And that chance is 1 in 500. There are bodies that occasionally will swing out into other directions. It's more that overall, if you look at it, there is an overall tendency. So here, what we see is a pretty typical kind of simulation of the type that we do. We start the solar system in an initially kind of totally random state where all the objects are pointing everywhere. For scale, these pink circles here are Uranus and Neptune.
That's crazy. Man, science is wicked. I gotta say. Science is awesome.
And this long ellipse, this long pink ellipse is planet.
Sorry I'm not reacting much. I'm just learning at this point. You're just watching me learning.
At 9. And these blue guys, these blue orbits, are long period Kuiper Belt objects, the ones that in the real solar system we see the clustering among. And these gold or greenish ellipses are the more short period, more proximate members of the Kuiper Belt, which are not clustered at all. So it takes a long time, but about 2 billion years into the evolution of the solar system, you begin to see the fact that objects that are collinear with Planet 9 have all been scattered away, so removed from their evolution. It takes a long time.
I had a cat-related incident. She was hiding behind the curtain over there. She likes hiding behind the curtain.
But about 2 billion years into the evolution of the solar system, you begin to see the fact that objects that are collinear with Planet 9 have all been scattered away, removed from the solar system dynamically, and the only kind of remaining members of the distant solar system are the objects that point the opposite way. Again, it's a remarkable gravitational signature, a gravitational one-way sign, if you will, that something is confining these orbits, keeping them clustered and pulling them all into the same plane.
You know, the experts, I think it was Scott Shepard and Chad Trujillo, who first noticed this alignment. They call it a 2.6 sigma result, which means that, you know, it doesn't really meet the threshold for acceptance. The scientific...
Would you be looking at 5 sigma?
Sorry for
Is
that.
that...
I mean, the standard thing is 3 sigma, right? But half of all 3 sigma results
Sigma sounds like ligma. Ligma.
are wrong, is what I always say, as an observer. So the more significance, the better. But 2.6 is not enough.
So even though these clusters of
I like how it switches from one person who truly does believe in Planet 9 to another person who's like, nah, not real. Nope, ain't real. I do like the dichotomy there. It's nice.
asteroid orbits in the Kuiper Belt provide the best evidence for Planet 9, there's a chance that further Kuiper Belt observations will find different, unclustered orbits. But regardless, there are 2 other solar system mysteries that could be explained by the existence of Planet 9.
These properties of Planet 9, they seem like kind of nuts. Like a period of 10,000 years, that's not like any of the planets that we have found. So why would we have such a strange planet hanging out there?
Yeah, great question. Indeed, none of this is reminiscent of anything solar system, right? If you, for a second, ignore the period, right, and ask yourself, about, say, mass of 5 Earth masses. We don't have anything in the solar system that's 5 Earth masses. We go from 1 to 17 when we go from Earth to Neptune. Is it wild? Actually, turns out this is the most common type of planet in the galaxy that we have discovered around other stars. It
5 times the size of Earth is the most common. Okay.
may be reversed. The fact that the solar system doesn't host a object which is 5 Earth masses kind of closer to the sun is actually kind of weird. Indeed, 5 Earth masses, as it turns out, is kind of a standard outcome of planet formation. There are more wild things out there, okay? And this is really my favorite aspect of the Planet 9 hypothesis. It's the fact that Planet 9 actively flips orbits on their side. You should not expect to find objects in the solar system that are flipped on their side and are orbiting the sun perpendicular to the planets, and you should definitely not expect objects that are orbiting the solar system the wrong.
Because things in space always go for the easiest option, and the easiest option is what you see there. It goes around and around and around. Like it. That's why circles or spheres or sphere-ish is the most common, or is why like all planets are sphere-ish, and most objects are sphere-ish, because that's the easiest thing to happen. Sorry, I'm looking at my chicken out there. So it would be interesting for something to be going completely against the grain like Planet 9, and I understand why it seems most people are against that theory, because it would go against things going down the easiest path.
Wrong way, so to speak.
Of course, I am very not educated in this area, so take what I say with a grain of salt, please.
Yet we find them, right? They exist in the Kuiper Belt, right? And this has actually been a problem since before Planet 9 was even a thought. Planet 9 has this intriguing mode of dynamical evolution that it instills upon distant orbits, where it takes them and at the expense of kind of circularizing these distant objects, right, making their orbits less elliptical, flips them upside down and then makes them more.
Does anybody else get these weird like learning headaches almost? Like I'm not getting a headache. It's not a real headache. Does anybody else get those like almost like a pressure behind your eyes and in your head as you're like learning something like completely new, something that you just don't have like any information for? Does anybody else get that? Like with history, I never get this, because with history it's just like, oh, an additional thing to get added to my history repertoire. But with something that is completely outside of my wheelhouse, I almost said astrology again, astronomy, or things like that. Like it's almost like you can feel my brain being like, all right, we need to rewire some things. We're learning this. It's a weird sensation. Maybe it's just me though.
More elliptical again. It's a complicated dynamical evolution, and really at a detailed level you have to go to the computer simulations to understand how it works. But the key kind of product of the existence of Planet 9 is the expectation that such objects would exist, and we see them. And I really there isn't another kind of natural mechanism to generate these highly inclined bodies.
You know, you have the plane of most of the bodies, and then some of the
the plane of most of the bodies. That's the easiest way to do it. Yeah.
bodies out there apparently have their orbits almost tilted up to 90 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
Is that just weird, or is that stronger evidence for...
That's one of the things that they claim to explain with the Planet 9 hypothesis, and that's a good thing in favor of the hypothesis. But again, you need to find the planet to be sure of what's going on. In the region that we have
I like how he doesn't exactly throw out the idea of Planet 9. He doesn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. He doesn't believe it because they haven't found it yet. But that doesn't mean he doesn't not believe it. It's very much the idea of like, you don't know what you don't know kind of deal. Like, I don't believe it because it hasn't been proved, but that means I don't believe that it can never be proved type of deal. Which is a fairly logical position to take in science.
not yet been able to probe because we can't see.
And in life, really. If you can't prove something is real, there's really no point in believing it. But there's also no point in shutting yourself off to the idea that it could never be proven to be real.
Faint enough. We don't know.
But that's just my take on things.
Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know.
So when do you think we're gonna find Planet 9?
That's a
His hairstyle is weird. It looks like he went down a flume ride, like the wet water ride. Also, sorry, it's getting dark. It's getting dark here and kind of stormy here, so
great question.
it's getting dark.
So, observing the sky has proven to be an extreme challenge. The search for Planet 9 is extremely difficult. It's just kind of dim enough at the outer parts of its orbit where it can be discovered with current telescopes, but everything has to go right. And by everything it has to go right, I mean no moon, the atmosphere has to be calm so that the light is not messed up by turbulence. Such nights do come around every year, but they don't come around very often. So since 2017, we've had exactly 2 successful runs. Right, successful observational runs where we had sort of a string of nights where we could take pictures of the same part of the sky over and over again. So we are about 20%, maybe a little bit more now, 25% done with the survey.
It's also really interesting how long astronomy and science really takes. Same with history and everything like this. Like, it's not a fast process to learn these things. It takes years and effort and failure, constant failure, to learn anything. And that's the beauty of science. It's one of the reasons I've always loved science. You don't know what you don't know, but you're trying to learn what you don't know. And if it comes up with a failure, hey, you learned something, right? Like, you learned something that it wasn't there. Like, even if it's a failure, you still learn something and you still advance science. Or like history or whatever. Like, that's one of the reasons I love this type of thing. I wish I could have gotten more into this as I've gotten older, but I chose the psychology path, not the astronomy path.
We are carrying out to search for Planet 9. If things go at this rate, it might take about a decade. I think the commencement of the LSST telescope, which is coming online 2022-23, that's going to help a lot. Because that's going to, first of all, discover many more of these objects, and we'll be able to refine the theoretical model better. And also, just by direct observation, it'll rule out, or it'll either find Planet 9 or rule out a big chunk of its orbit, so we could kind of zero in that way a lot more. So it's an iterative process. I would guesstimate decade or less.
So volumetrically, we've discovered most of the solar system in the last 25 years, something like that.
What do you mean volumetrically?
I mean that the volume of the region occupied by the planets is very small. It's 10,000 cubic astronomical units. But as you go further out, the volume of that sphere that encapsulates all the objects that we've been able to observe is just going up dramatically. So if you go 10 times further out, which we're now just about able to do, you increase the volume that you're looking at by a factor of 1,000.
Yeah, so it's just... I'm
a whole bunch
I'm not even going to attempt to say anything there. I thought I had something to say, then my mind went... So I don't have anything to say. Let's just...
Stuff going on. Solar system...
Space is big. That's my smart boy comment for today. Space is big.
Is... to me, an unknown place. We fool ourselves to thinking that we know everything about it just because we've only been looking close and we have a lot of data from spacecraft and so on. But the further away you go, the less known it is and the more mysterious it is. And this 9th planet thing is part of that, because essentially when you go far enough away from the sun, there's enough room to hide almost anything you want. It will be so faint you can put almost anything. Big planets, small planets, whatever you want. We would not have seen it yet.
If and when you do find it, who gets to name it?
That's something we don't think about and don't talk about.
You don't have a name in the back of your head?
Only David Bowie. Yeah, there's an online petition on change.org to name Planet 9 David Bowie, and I thought it was kind of silly initially, but then there's this whole David Bowie mythology that you could create. If it has moons, you could have Ziggy Stardust and Starman and all of these things. So, I'm kind of I'm not saying that seriously, but also it would be kind of remarkable if we
It would be awesome to have a planet name called David Bowie that only shows up every 10,000 years. That would be awesome.
had Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and David Bowie.
Alright, that was a great video, I gotta say. That was a great video. I learned some things. I don't know if it's gonna stick in my brain skull, but I definitely learned some things. I'm sorry I didn't get much to say there, but that was mostly just me learning. I'll try to find something less learning next time. Unless you guys like watching me learning. I love learning. Learning's fun. Although I do feel that pressure of that I've learned something completely new. Alright, that was fun. You guys go sub to Veritasium. Like all his videos, do all the different stuff, Patreon him, do all that different type of stuff. If you like what you saw on my end, sub to me, like my video, go join my Twitch, and go join my Discord. Apart from that, I love you all, love your faces, love butts, happiness, and all that good stuff. My Mia girl's over there. She's being a cat. Do you want to come over here and say hello to Mia? No, she's just kind of being a cat. Alright, bye everyone. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Leave it in the comments if there's anything in particular you want me to react to. I'm open for most things. I don't really care. I'm not picky. Bye-bye. Love you all.